Not that there are, that doesn't exist, but certainly not here.
Yeah.
In these conditions.
I actually got to enjoy that just a couple of weeks ago. I was snorkeling in Belize, and we did
Really?
it's the first time I'd ever done a night snorkel.
Really?
And really disconcerting to sort of jump into the ocean in the middle of the night
Yeah.
with a flashlight. But then once you're in there, you feel just like an ROV. It's the same view you get from Herc and Argus, you know. But yeah, and
really
then at
cool.
one point we all linked arms and kind of turned off our flashlights, and yeah, you can see all of the, well, you can see all these chains of lights hanging down from the surface. And what's interesting is when you then turn your flashlight back on, you can't actually see the creatures themselves. They're so transparent.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't stinging or anything like that. It was
Yeah.
there was no risk. But
Just to know that it's there, but it's not there.
yeah. The cool thing was all the creatures that come out at night. The lobsters came out from under the rocks. All the hermit crabs were making their way across the sand. Yeah.
Hey, Trevor, what's your ascent speed?
I'm coming up at 20 now, but when I lateral the other way, I'll come up at 16.
Yeah, right now I'm sitting around 15 to 16.
Yeah, if you can get it to 18, I think we'll match. No, sporty, because it's under control.
Yeah. Now, I know we've got some tech geeks on the front row, and we've got a great question from Nautilus Live I wanted to pitch out to you. Are there any underwater vehicles that people can actually buy, sort of like mini but drones for the water?
Actually, yeah, I have a friend that just bought one, and it was made by Arduino, I think, or it was like a Arduino package.
Okay.
I think I asked her how much it cost, and it was around $1,000, so it's a little expensive, but you're basically building your own ROV
I've seen kits
to
like
practice.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this kind of operation. I'm not sure where she was able to find it. I should have asked her because it sounds really cool. But there's definitely options for people to build their own.
I've seen ones from Triton before.
Yeah, Triton.
And they used to offer the kit form, and
Yeah,
where you
there's a
could
kit.
yeah, you could build your own. But now they basically come ready-made. But it's about that same price point you mentioned.
Yeah.
But they're pretty neat because they've got an HD camera on and some pretty nice lights.
Right. I mean, even if it doesn't have an HD camera, you can just stick a GoPro on it
Yeah.
and set it up. So was Triton, so that kit, do you know what the motherboard was? Was it our Arduino motherboard or?
You've gone way beyond me, Cassidy, right now. I'm just the guy who presses the buttons and looks at the photos.
Yeah, but there's definitely options online for you to look for stuff like this to practice your electrical, you know, soldering and stuff similar to that.
Yeah.
I would recommend it too. It's a good practice.
Well, also, you realize that, you know, if you happen to be lucky enough to live near the ocean,
Right.
you can actually do some amazing exploring yourself. You know, there's a lot of interesting life just off our shores.
Yeah, I mean, even in lakes. It's
Yep.
good. Lake Michigan is very populated. You know, the Great Lakes, even smaller lakes, there's always fish.
Uh-huh.
Or like some hidden treasure that someone may have dropped when they were cruising on their boat. You know, there's sunglasses.
Right.
I've seen a lot of videos where there's people who specifically go scuba diving and snorkeling to look for lost belongings of people. And they'll find like really cool sunglasses, phones. Sometimes the phones even still work because they're in these waterproof cases.
Oh, I see.
And they're nice enough to, you know, track down the owner. It's always nice when you see that.
Okay, apparently Blue Robotics is another one that sells underwater drones.
Yeah, Blue Robotics.
Yeah,
I forgot where they're based out of. I think they're based out of California.
Okay.
But they make big ROVs too.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah, like Falcon size.
So just to give those of you on Nautilus Live a quick check as to where we are in the world and what's our current situation. We are currently exploring in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. The Nautilus is about 300 kilometers off the west coast of North America, just on the map where California meets Oregon, and then draw a little line 300 kilometers out into the ocean. That's where we are at the moment. Our ROVs are in the water at the moment, but they have finished their day's diving and they are ascending through the water column, and possibly we hope to get them back on board somewhere around 8 o'clock this evening. We spent the day on our second dive of the subsea expedition, exploring the Sea Cliff hydrothermal vent site. That's a site, it's about 2.7 kilometers under the ocean. It's part of the marine feature that we call the Gorda Ridge. And this is essentially a boundary under the ocean between two tectonic plates on Earth's crust. These two plates, the Gorda Plate and the Pacific Plate, in this vicinity, they're moving apart, and that creates a major weak spot, a tectonic boundary in the Earth's crust. And one of the consequences of that weakness is that essentially hot rocks or magma can approach much closer to the surface than they might do normally, and come into contact with seawater that percolates through the upper layers of Earth's crust. That seawater becomes heated and then positively buoyant, rises up through the rock again, and emerges as hydrothermal vent fields. So we've been studying those today with the ROVs. We've been focusing on both the geochemistry and the biology of these sites. We've been measuring the fluids coming out of the vents.
Turned off all of the lights. Who turned out the lights?
We're bringing those samples back to the surface with us now for analysis on board this evening. We've also been sampling the vent fluid for any microbial communities that grow inside the ridges.
Yes, it's mine.
Sorry, inside the vents.
I'm gonna give up. Okay. Yeah, I've done it that way. That's fine.
So once again, we hope to get the ROVs on deck around 8 o'clock this evening. The ROV crews will then inspect and prep the ROVs for their dives tomorrow morning, tentatively scheduled for 4 AM tomorrow morning. Also, when the equipment comes on board, the scientists on board, microbiologists and geochemists, will be taking the various devices we've used today, the water samples we've taken under various conditions, and they'll be analyzing them really through the night. Thanks to you on Nautilus Live that are suggesting some more of the hobby ROV kits that are out there. One of them I forgot to mention was Open ROV.
Right.
And one of our contributors on Nautilus Live has pointed out to us that Blue Robotics actually shares a pier with Nautilus at its home base of Altasea in Los Angeles.
Okay. Okay, that looks good. And we are firing all Niskins?
That is correct. Yep, all Niskins, and whenever you're ready, we're now shallower than 2,100. So
okay.
If you can just let us know, as we'll keep an eye on the cameras as well to make sure they're fired. But if you can just confirm when they've closed, I'll get Ashley to make sure she's logged each one.
So Wayne, I don't know if you have a moment. On quad 3, could you put up the Niskin bottles? It's always fun to see those pop off as we pull them.
Sure. Water clamps. Alright. So sat 3. I think that is Herc port.
That looks like it. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
So these are Niskin bottles on the quad view.
I'm having trouble with that.
Bottom left you can see That's basically a container with an open top and bottom in the panel just above it.
That's 7. Do you copy?
Actually, I'm going to put
Yes.
that on
Okay.
set 2.
Okay.
This is sample 11.
I'll put
Stand by now.
Argus.
So as the manipulator arm pulls each of those toggles, that's
Oh, well,
This is 8.
Oh, okay. So it's... Okay. No problem.
as the manipulator arm pulls each of those toggles, that simultaneously releases
Seems like a lot of pulling.
a catch that closes the top and bottom of each of those canisters, trapping the water that's been flowing through them in there. They're then analyzed once again on deck in the evening.
That seemed like a lot of pulling.
That one didn't want to fire.
Okay.
So can you just let Nav know what sample number what sample number this is?
Yeah.
So they can put so Max can put a waypoint in. Okay.
You sound pretty faintly.
Is that better?
That's much better.
Sorry,
Were you shouting from 10 feet away to the microphone?
I was indeed. It was below my chin, not the optimum place for a mic. 8's giving us a bit of trouble by the looks of things.
So I got sample 20, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So we're doing all of the Niskins as one sample.
One location.
There you
Yep.
go.
Okay. Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
took
Seriously?
Yep,
8 confirmed.
consider that pulled.
Okay, 8's done.
Thanks, Gabby.
Yeah, definitely broke the strap with that one.
One sample.
Can you put that in the log for faults?
So one sample, one location, one depth.
Yep.
Roger.
Is that 9 confirmed? Thank you. Ten.
10 is good. Okay.
Two for one.
Could do.
It's 12.
Roger. There's 11.
11. Great.
Well
Thank
done.
you very much, guys.
So Lee, do you happen to know typically what measurements are performed on the water that we're trapping in these
She's
Niskins?
getting ready to head out,
Oh,
unless you need her for a quick
no,
question.
No, that's fine.
Oh, thanks.
Bye.
Okay, set 2 back to Zeus. And set 3 back to Hercbo.
So is it just you back there now, Ashley?
It is.
How's your day been?
It's been good. It's actually been very productive. So
Is this your actual first watch in the water today?
it is, yeah, since we were delayed. I got to sleep in a bit, so that was nice,
Uh-huh.
which probably helped my productivity later.
No, I actually got to briefly nap on the couch. Be ready to be needed, but not in the van. I think they're learning. God, I hope so.
So for those of you who just were listening in and didn't catch the name of some of those commercial ROVs that as a kind of at the hobby level, some of the ones that we were aware of that some of have actually used are by Open ROV and Blue Robotics and...
What's happening?
I just had a eye rest moment.
No.
We are
Well, I'm pulling on you a little bit.
flying up. Oh, gotcha.
Another great question on nautiluslive.org. Does Hercules have onboard power, or is it sent through the tether?
It is sent through the tether. It sends down as 2,700 volts, 3-phase, and then there are 2 transformers on Argus and 1 on Herc, which step it down to your standard household 120 AC.
Is there any kind of onboard backup, a battery or something?
There are 2 elements on board that have batteries. Actually, the IGTs might have batteries, but they're unimportant.
Okay.
For navigation purposes, we have batteries in both of the USBLs.
Right.
So that way, if we lose total power, we can transition to trigger and receive mode with the USBL.
Oh, so you can still find the ROV.
Acoustic.
Yeah,
respond
acoustic respond mode.
Right. So we've actually got someone watching on Nautilus Live who's currently building an ROV for their a school ROV for an international competition.
Oh, nice.
So we're part of a wider family.
Is that through the MATE program?
I think we might find out in a few minutes.
Greg, Josh had said to put Mongo on top of the IGTs.
Yeah,
Before
just
we
for
go
going through the interface.
Yeah. You have the technology over there
I
trying to drive Mongo on the touchscreen
do.
is a bear.
I don't know, it's not terrible.
Oh, yeah?
It's just, you can't do 2 functions at once.
I have no problem doing it with the mouse, but I've heard that it's harder on the touchscreen. Like to get something to happen to like get any of the valves to actuate continuously.
I don't know. You can try it. Go for it. It's best to experience things yourself.
Oh, this does exactly what I thought it would do.
Yeah, work.
Yeah, it works. It just works.
I was just going to ask, you guys mentioned about going through the interface.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Water to air or air to water.
Oh, I see, for when we actually recover the vehicle.
Yeah, it's just really when there's the highest chance of losing something on the vehicles.
Right, so you're just going to tuck it round just to stop anything going off the porch.
We're just going to kind of bring it over the top of the IGTs, and that will allow us to basically prevent them from going up.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, as predicted, Greg, it is the MATE program.
I was a MATE intern. That's how I got started in this whole circus.
So I guess today...
I think your camera is still forward, so just be aware. Nope. Maybe I lied.
Yeah, I kept it back for doing the Niskins.
That's right.
Good, hey?
Yeah, maybe a shoulder
Shoulder down?
down. I mean, the risk is the droop. Seems pretty good.
Mongo?
Not going anywhere.
Nope.
Mango. Mango.
Mango.
Yeah, I think we have to call it Mango now.
We don't. I mean, we don't have to call it. That's just his name.
It actually, there's a sticker on there that says I am Mango.
In case there's any confusion.
Right, but it's a hard to find sticker, so
And
it's
it's
really, yeah.
And Mango is black.
When did that happen? It used to be right on top.
No, now it's hidden. It's
that.
clear tape with black lettering.
text.
So Mongo hasn't had much to do with this cruise so far. I've been missing it.
Yeah, ONC Mango gets a lot of use, and then it's backup. You know, it's let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 7 function.
Right.
Arm. It's just not as it doesn't have the same
It's not as
finesse as the Craft.
Kind of describes the many people in the room, myself included, you know. So that's, I think I have a growing affinity as the years pass with Mango.
Yeah, you're not alone. You really aren't, John.
May not get there first, but it gets the job done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a ONC cruise at the end of one of the dives. The Craft arm had a short in it, and would just kind of randomly, I think it was the Ritz yaw, would just swing all the way one way and then swing all the way back. I mean, just slammed extent to extent. And the cable ship that we were working with was still connected by like a series of shackles to a mud mat. And so I was piloting, Summer was on Argus, and Josh came up, and between piloting and somebody else on the arm, we were able to still get everything undone. But because he didn't want to bring in anything in near the camera, he just dropped everything on the porch. And so on the ascent, Summer picked everything up with Mango and put it in the forward bio box, just as proof that, you know, you could do it. She could run almost 3 functions at a time. Yeah. Yeah, I think she's coming out again. I'm not out in July. Not out in July. I am off until end of August. Yeah, it was there. Mm-hmm.
So I guess one thing we saw today on the Super Sampler was basically a custom-made 3D printed sort of sheath for the electronics that goes around the sampling tube. Is that kind of the first time you guys have ever worked with these kind of made-to-measure 3D printed stuff?
No, that's kind of becoming pretty normal now
to
make your brackets out of 3D printed stuff. One of the ships I work on has a 3D printer on it, and we just make things as we go.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Sometimes you call the 3D printer the bracket store.
Right.
And when you get frustrated, you say they didn't have what I wanted at the bracket store.
Right. But you really only have yourself to blame. Oh, look at all these arms everywhere. It's like, maybe I should stop looking at the arm. Oh, wait.
So as we continue to ascend here through the water column to the surface, we're still
as soon as you looked at it, it went away. Sorry, John.
No, that's cool. Don't worry. We're still monitoring all your questions and comments on nautiluslive.org, so keep them going, and we'll try to find time to get to them. So one question we had was, who are we collaborating with on this particular cruise? Well, this is a cruise that brings together some pretty diverse partners. We are operating with teams of NASA scientists. We're working with a group of scientists from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. I believe we're also partly funded by NOAA as well. And the overarching program that we're supporting on the Nautilus here is called Subsea. And this is an extended series of operations, not just the Nautilus, other endeavors as well, that seek to essentially look at the potential connections that may exist between deep ocean exploration and that one day could bring new knowledge or expertise to bear on how we might explore beyond planet Earth. There's also a very strong kind of terrestrial microbiological and geological program on board, so there's a lot of real-world Earth-based knowledge as well. But there certainly is a component of this particular cruise that is mindful of you know, how we might take some of these techniques and seek potential ways of using them in the future.
Was that from today?
Yeah, it's about today. So that whole turnaround is not necessary.
Now we know.
Back flying down the cliff.
Wait, we're in mode 1. Mode 1.
So another question we've got on Nautilus Live is, when taking a water sample from these vents, what's the water like? Is it, I mean, it's hotter than the ambient seawater, but is it more, does it have a different viscosity or any different properties? And really is, though I'm not an expert on this, it really is, does have most of the regular properties of water. Chemically it is different in terms of the dissolved gases and the salinity and the pH, but in terms of its flow properties, it's pretty much exactly the same. So we're continuing to rise through the water column. We finished our day's dive at about 5 o'clock today.
5:13.
Oh, we got off the bottom a little earlier than yesterday. What's our ETA on the surface?
A lot earlier than yesterday. We're just about 2 hours.
Okay, that's not bad. So that would put us about 8 o'clock Pacific time on the surface.
Right on schedule.
Yeah, right on schedule.
Yeah.
Actually, we're about 1,800 meters, and we're going about 18 meters per minute, so about 100 minutes.
Okay, pretty cool.
Not bad math.
Yeah.
By my math.
Pretty slick.
He does that, but now I'm going to slow down just to... No, well, I'm getting up higher on Delta.
So just a quick note, if any of you guys on the front row or back row want to say hi to Emily Ballard, she's watching us at the moment and enjoying. I guess she misses the blue water dives.
The blue water dives? I don't know that we ever had specific blue water dives. Hi, Emily.
Yeah.
Hey, Emily.
And we have a lot of regular viewers on Nautilus Live, and they know some of the daily routines we have on the ship and like to just keep tabs on them. So we have the obligatory question on today's 4 p.m. snack. I can report it was oatmeal cookies.
Yeah, I think they were the prepackaged kind. I don't think they were the baked kind.
I think we needed the break, though, after yesterday's Oreo creation.
Well, they had warm cinnamon buns this morning.
Oh,
breakfast.
I missed those.
Oh man, that's the best part about
4 to 8.
Yeah, 4 to 8, and stepping out of the van around 6:30 is warm breakfast pastry. Oh.
Look at you go.
So thanks for your questions, continuing to come in on nautiluslive.org. One of them was just asking us, where exactly is Gorda Ridge? Well, if you want the exact...
Nav, take them away.
Oh, yeah.
We are, what was the word? We are about 180 kilometers due west of Port Orford, Oregon.
Oh, thanks for telling me that. I've been saying 300 for the last few days, so we've just moved 120 kilometers closer to the coast.
Ship's getting faster and faster every day.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just off the west coast of North America. As Miles just mentioned to us, about 180 kilometers off the coast.
Yeah, which is fine. It's just doing a bunch of things all at once, right?
And when you look at what Gorda Ridge is on a geological map of planet Earth, basically you can see almost like the broken crack that runs just parallel to the coast of North America that represents the boundary between the Pacific plate and some of the smaller plates that make up that kind of interface between the Pacific and the North American plates. Just north of us, a few hundred kilometers north of us, off the coast of Vancouver Island, you've got the Juan de Fuca plate. I believe just south of that you've got the Explorer plate, and then where we're operating now, the Gorda plate. These aren't the big ocean-spanning plates that some of you may have been used to. These are quite small, almost like broken shards of plates, but they still have their own geologic considerations and phenomena. So Gorda is just a place where the Gorda plate and the Pacific plate are moving apart, creating a mid-ocean ridge or a spreading center, and basically the proximity of the hot rocks or the magma underneath the Earth's crust to the surface, that they're much closer to the surface than you get just in the middle of the tectonic plates. That allows seawater to come into contact with those hot rocks and produces all the range of hydrothermal phenomena we've been studying these past 2 days.
Miles, where are we going to next?
Right back here. Well, not here, but back to the vents. And then we got geotransects down the west side of the cliff that we crossed today.
Okay. And that cliff kind of runs, what, north-northeast?
Yeah, just east of north. So all the geotransects are in here.
So we're going to finish up the geotransects that we didn't get done today.
Negative.
We have new geotransects.
New geotransects, yes.
New hotness.
These are on the east side of the cliff.
Correct.
It's been a while since I checked the overall cruise plan. Do you know if we're going to spend any time at the main spreading center?
I have no idea.
Yeah, me neither.
I will dive wherever it is that Miles puts the ship.
And I'm just going where they tell me.
We did have one interesting question I didn't know the answer to. We had on Nautilus Live just a few moments ago is, what's the deepest you guys have dived with Hercules and Argus?
Personally,
3,800.
I've done like 3950. But I believe
Pescadero Basin.
I believe somebody hit like as part of sea trials. I think they went beyond 4.
That was way back in the day when the float pack was new.
So was that 3950, Greg? Was that Pescadero Basin?
Probably.
Yeah. Is that in the...
Guess I've been there too then.
Yeah. Miles was with me.
Is that in the Gulf of California? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, very, way down at the southern end.
Yep.
You're almost out into open water, I guess, by that point.
Okay.
Almost.
Yeah, and Galapagos is pretty deep, but not that deep.
For some reason, that surprises me.
It was like 3.3, 3.2 if I remember correctly.
I just imagine it being like sunlight-bathed corals, and, like pretty.
I mean, there's that too, but that's not where we were working. Yeah.
Were you working Galapagos Rift, that kind of place?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Actually, funny enough, I've been to the same place with different vehicles twice.
Uh-huh.
Both Galapagos Rift and Gulf of Mexico for the coral studies post Deepwater Horizon.
Oh man, I've been there. Every vessel I've ever gotten on has been there.
Yeah, a lot of people got work there.
So a few of you on Nautilus Live are wondering about what the rest of the expedition holds for the Nautilus, or the rest of the expedition season holds for the Nautilus. There's a great way you can find out about that by just go to the Nautilus Live main page and look along the top at the various links you've got there and click on the expedition, and that will take you to a page that gives you a single overview of the trajectory that the Nautilus is going to take over the next few months. Basically going all the way from where we are now, just off the Oregon coast, to American Samoa and then back again, with some pretty interesting stops on the way. With each of the cruise legs that you see identified there, you can click on those once again, and that will take you to a cruise-specific breakdown of what they'll be attempting to do. So that's a great way to get excited about some of the next trips that are coming up.
Miles, when do you get back on the boat?
June 22nd, I fly to Honolulu.
Okay. It's not a bad flight.
No. And then September 22nd, I fly to Honolulu.
From Honolulu?
From Seattle.
Oh, okay. When do you get off the boat then in between those two?
Apia, Samoa, August 26th.
So we'll pass in the airport.
Hopefully not, but yes. I think that's a 30-hour travel day, and I land before I take off.
Yeah, I leave, I think, the 23rd and arrive the 26th.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know how to build that.
I don't know how to build that.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm traveling for over 24 hours, that's got to be an extra day.
I don't know. It's always different. When we were doing a lot of stuff in the med, sometimes you'd have like 28-hour travel days and stuff like that. But basically, because you were flying back from the med, it like canceled itself out.
So you just count up, you figure out when you got back and you count up the number of calendar days in between, and
yep,
that's it.
I'm not worried.
I have a 15-hour flight. I'm going from Houston all the way to New Zealand.
Wow, I didn't know that flight existed.
I've done Dallas to Sydney, which is supposed to be the longest commercial, which at the time was the longest commercial airplane flight. You could do 16 hours and 15 minutes or something.
Yeah.
That was solidly long.
Yeah, I did SFO to Singapore a year and a half ago, and that was 17 and a half.
I did O'Hare. I did O'Hare to Singapore.
Whoa.
Wow.
How long was that, though? That might have been like 16
They
hours.
like went around the other direction.
I thought my O'Hare to Istanbul was bad.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Oh, jeez.
That is bad.
I've done Seattle to Paris, and that's only like 11 hours.
But they go
You're
up
like,
and over.
Yeah, you're way up north.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they go over the pole or something.
Yeah, because we had people who were flying to Seattle for something out of like Frankfurt, and they went up and over.
Yeah.
Cool.
Basically north of Hudson Bay.
Oh, no kidding. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, they go over Baffin Island and mid-Greenland.
Yeah.
My wife was on a flight. We do a lot of traveling. My wife was on a flight recently, and she just happened to look out the window at night, and there was a full aurora borealis display.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And she spent a couple of hours enjoying that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I bet.
imagine.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
How do you deal with flights, long flights?
Stoicism is a
It's British.
is a really good sort of thing to have in the playbook. For those of you
For those of us who aren't British.
For those of you not getting the joke, I'm about 6'3" and 240 pounds, so I'm definitely in the linebacker kind of shape of things. Seat yoga. Yeah.
Seat yoga.
Yeah.
If you have a link to that, you should send it to me.
Could
I
use
might
that
need
on
it.
watch.
Yeah, I might need it on that next trip.
And always sitting in an aisle seat just gives you a little bit of extra room. I've got really big shoulders as well, and so I don't like to annoy the person next to me too much.
Never a window seat.
I don't like to bug people when I get out on the long flights, because that way I can get up whenever I want to and stretch my legs.
Yep.
Your preference for seat is supposed to say a lot about you, actually.
I'm the opposite. I'm a window guy.
Oh, yeah?
Even on the long flights.
Okay.
I can sit down and not move for 10 hours.
Depending upon the shape of the bulkhead, you can get a little bit of extra space.
I feel like now they're not doing that anymore. Like if you take the window seat, you're getting less space.
Okay.
Always. I depends on if I'm intending to sleep and it's a short flight, then it's a window seat. Otherwise, it's an aisle seat.
Yeah, I'm learning the benefits of the aisle seat.
Yeah. The other thing I've found that is vital is a pair of noise-cancelling earbuds or something like that. It just creates a little bubble of space around you.
I have just regular, big red.
Yep.
I have a regular pair of over-ear headphones, but I use earplugs underneath that. And if I take the earplugs out at any point during the flight, like at some point it's like, wow, the flight is super loud. And I'll take the earplug out and be like, oh my God, how are you people just sitting here listening to this?
So if any of you wonder why we're having this conversation on plane flights, it's because a lot of the time, depending upon where the Nautilus is, we're flying around the world to join it. And I guess the furthest we're going this year is American Samoa. I've never flown there, but that must be a fun journey.
I took a boat there once instead of flying.
Took a while.
It took about 30 days, but based on what I heard about the flights, I'd recommend it.
How many cyclones did you run into on the way?
We actually went through a typhoon.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that what radar's for?
Well,
Avoid that?
so it wasn't.
It wasn't planned.
It wasn't
They hadn't
part of the
ordered it.
transit. It was actually when we were heading up to Howland Baker. And it wasn't bad. The wind blew the waves flat. I mean, like there was no chop because it was just like cut off immediately. We were doing about 75% on the mains, which usually gave us about 12 to 13 knots. We were doing about 2 knots.
Wow.
Right into the wind. Yeah.
So this must have come up quick if there was no waves.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and any wave that tried to form, you just watched it just shear right off the top. Yeah. We were not allowed out of the boat. The smokers rebelled.
With the watertight doors secured?
Yep.
I haven't been there yet.
No, watertight doors were secured. Nobody in or out.
Hey, we got our butt back.
Yeah.
By the seat of our pants.
Almost.
Just thinking about it.
Sort
No
of.
counting chickens.
But I'm gonna have so many eggs.
So many chickens.
If you have the eggs, you don't get the chickens.
What?
Yeah, this
If you eat the eggs, you don't get the chickens.
Yeah.
on this dive, we swapped ARG front SD and ARG butt cameras to rule out the camera is the issue.
Yep.
So
Camera's good, cable's bad.
Yeah, that's what we're suspecting.
I think we're gonna swap the cables because it's easier than going into the J box. So we'll
Yeah,
just
we're gonna ditch dash cam and run the dash cable back to butt because butt is operationally really important and dash is sort of not
convenient.
as much. Yeah.
Okay. So it'll when I pull up
Dash,
Argus
it'll be
dash
butt.
cam, it'll be butt.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as we know.
Well, I just got a wonderful question on Nautilus Live with miles written all over it, and essentially it's asking, is there a website for seafloor mapping that collates the data where members of the public who are interested can, I guess, access this data and use it?
Yes. I believe it's ngdc.noaa.gov.
MGDS?
ngdc.
mgdc.noaa.gov. Okay. I'll see if they got that. But yeah, certainly in the era of citizen science, it's great if these growing databases are available to people to work with. We certainly do this a lot in astronomy. We put a lot of our data sets online and let the public work with them.
I believe that'd be NOAA with 2 A's, correct?
That is correct.
That's right.
National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration.
Seems
Also known as the National Organization for Assigning Acronyms.
people don't know how to log off computers when they're not using them.
Are you trying to find the website?
I was.
I'll give it a shot. I've got an open computer here.
I know you can do it through NOAA. There's also gmrt.org.
I'm trying that first one you gave me. Do you want to repeat it to me, please?
NGDC?
NGDC.
Yeah, National Geodetic Survey something. .noaa.gov.
Jellyfish.
What's a cool one?
So the little fish McTophids, is that the general term for the little fish, the little silvery fish?
I don't know.
There you go. You were right, Miles. ngdc.noaa.gov.
That'll show like track lines, and you can download individual data sets from ships. GMRT is sort of a synthesis of all multi-beam collected data and satellite-derived bathymetry, sort of all tied into one, and you can just sort of download large sections of the Earth at once.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you.
I like the idea of downloading large sections of the Earth.
We might have to do that one day.
Uh-huh.
I've got another really cool question I just wanted to air out here. I don't know if you guys might know the answer. It might be more Justin who knows this, but there's a contributor in Germany who's working with students, doesn't say at what level, but they're actually using the depth and temperature data that's on Nautilus Live to actually plot temperature profiles through the ocean. And we're just curious about the essentially, is there any time shift between the actual depth and the transmission of displaying those data? So I guess what he's asking is, does the depth and the temperature data get transmitted simultaneously so that they're a matched pair?
They should be, yeah.
Yeah, timing's super important for the type of, like, timing's super important when you're trying to calculate the position of a vehicle.
Right.
You have to correlate all of your measurements with each other very, very carefully in time. So we spend a lot of time and effort goes into that in writing the software.
Yeah, the data management side of things is kind of like the hidden, but also probably the most one of the more important aspects.
Super laborious too. People put a lot of time into it, into making that stuff work, and it's really difficult.
But it's great to think that people can use the data that's just out there on Nautilus Live that we broadcast for free, that they can get something from it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can probably find all the thermoclines.
Yeah.
So are they talking about the latency between something showing up on a screen?
Well, so
which latency are they asking about? Because
the data and the temperature, or the depth and the temperature, are overlaid.
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
But those relative to each other, those should be the same time.
Right.
Yeah, I think the question was, is there any shift between the depth and the temperature? And the answer I'm getting from you guys is,
not be.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So good luck with that.
Do we know what this long stringy thing is?
Siphon 4.
Cool. Thank you.
It's kind of unfair because you're back there by yourself, but
yeah.
Front row 1, science 0. When you have a full watch and you know, like a number of specialists in the back row, and the front row identifies something first, or more accurately, it's always a win.
Well, you guys do so much of this. You must pick up a lot.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of interesting. There are definitely times where, we'll see something and the scientist in the back row has never experienced it before, and to them it is this absolute phenomenon.
Sped up a little.
Yeah, also. It's like, oh no, this is just a, I don't know, what were they were the pelagic galatheids that actually like swam up and down in the water column.
That sounds exotic. I'm not sure what that is. A pelagic galatheid?
So it's a squat lobster.
That
lives
mid-water?
Oh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know if it lives mid-water, but we kept going through schools of them, and the first dive I was on with them, we all thought that they were crazy. The next cruise, there was a different scientist, and they're like, oh yeah, they're just this, like we know all about them. And that cruise after that, again, everybody thought it was crazy, and I was like, oh no, we know all about them.
Osmosis.
It's totally a thing.
So Ashley, have you come across any of the deep sea life field guides that some of the research organizations have put out there?
Yeah, well, there's a couple we have on the computers back here, so
okay, you have
sometimes when we're going through blue water, I'll casually scroll through them and see if I saw anything from the dive.
I tried to teach myself as much as possible from Ocean Networks Canada's Deep Sea Field Life Guide before I went on my first cruise, and I actually found that just listening to the people in the room and their experience taught me a vast amount.
Yeah. I know, sitting in the lounge sometimes, just listening to everybody talk about what they see is cool.
Oftentimes there's a lot of years of schooling and more years of experience sitting in the lounge.
Yep.
There was a geologist I used to sail with. Well, I guess she was a myofauna expert who worked for USGS, and she would sit down in the lounge and just call up to me here and tell me the scientific name of a creature, and then I got to blast it out.
I'm so smart, look at me.
Actually, another thing we get as well is we get a lot of input from Nautilus Live. Folks will see something, and either know it straight off the bat or maybe they'll Google it quickly. But yeah, I get a lot of answers to questions from there as well.
We used to have Rich Bell come out as a navigator, and he is a fish specialist. So he could list off all of the scientific names for pretty much any fish we saw.
I don't know if I've sailed with a fish expert.
That's where I learned the word coddle peduncle. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. What is that?
It's the kind of the fleshy part where the tail fin meets the fish.
Oh.
Yeah, that
It's
makes sense.
one word.
Coddle peduncle.
Coddle peduncle. It's right up there with bioturbation.
Oh, that's a nice one.
That's what those whale scars
Is
are.
that biologically driven turbidity?
Yeah.
Right. Nice.
Any sediment that's moved or shifted that's done as something, the result of something biological.
So what would we call the turbidity that we create with Hercules? Autoturbation?
I would go with pilot error.
Would that fall under trundle?
That's trundle.
Yeah.
Trundle is the anthropogenic movement of rocks.
Right.
Okay, that's a good one.
Some of the rocks are really small, though.
Still rocks. Or is rock a size classification?
You know, I've learned that rock is kind of a size classification, but I don't know. There's all the issues with
Oh, you mean
being on my first major geological cruise where they were looking for fresh magma, and I'm like super excited, right? Yeah, it was under 100 years old. I was like, your timeline is off. That is not fresh.
I mean, in geologic terms, like,
yeah.
That's really new.
and pillow lava is not soft. And while we're on this, pumice is not fluffy. Yeah. If I can't get hit in the face with it and be like, oh, that was okay, it's not fluffy. Not fluffy. Anyway, that's just my take on it.
Get out of my head.
So just to give a quick update for those of you watching on nautiluslive.org, we are currently ascending through the water column with our ROVs with a view to recovering them probably just...
I would say an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay, so maybe 8 o'clock or thereabouts, we hope to have the ROVs back on deck. For those of you wondering when we will be diving again, we tentatively plan to have the ROVs back in the water at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning, Pacific time. That will be starting another full day of dive operations at the Sea Cliff hydrothermal vent site. So we actually had a great follow-up question to that question about the temperature sensor data on Hercules. Essentially, how thermally responsive is it? I mean, we saw today at the vents that we had to allow a few seconds for the probes to kind of get up to the ambient temperature. But what's it like on Hercules?
I believe that temperature reading is coming from a FastCat CTD.
Yeah.
And so that is pretty instantaneous.